Hello everyone, this is Direwolf20, and welcome to episode 70 of Direwolf20's Let's Play of Minecraft 1.21. Today, the plan is I wanna fix this. So the last couple episodes, I've actually been using my soul overclocker, right? It's cool, cool. What do you get stuck on? Or me? This thing keeps getting gummed up, and I don't appreciate it. I really don't. I don't know why it's not behaving, because it really should. So something is weird with this, in that like I always watch it and it's always inserting just 10 ore, but for whatever reason it's misbehaving, and that ain't cool. Anyway, I've been using my soul overclockers, right, which is cool and fun and awesome, but as a result, like, we're using up our soul stuff, and I halfway am automated on this, right? Like, we have it set up where if I push, not that one, if I push this button, it puts the Warden there, right? And then he's, doing his thing. And then if I push this button, the Warden goes away, right? Which was just like a fun bit of automation, right? Like, that was cool. It was super cool. So what I'd like to do today is finish this up. So I actually put a bug, well, not a bug, but like a feature request into the Industrial Foregoing Souls thing to say like, hey, can you make it so the soul laser base emits a redstone signal based on how many souls there are in the storage? And Buzz did it. So thank you, Buzz. So that's pretty cool. So what I'm going to do today is take advantage of the fact that that's a thing now. So presumably at some point, shortly in the future here, this guy is going to go ahead and flip over to 1, which means that he is detecting that there is some amount of souls in there. What I'd like to do is automate this in such a way that when we're like halfway full, it places the Warden, and then when we're all the way full, it removes the Warden. That's kind of what I'm going to go for. So I'm going to go with something like emitting a power output of 7 will trigger the right-hand clicker, and then emitting a power of 15 will trigger the left-hand clicker. Is that cool? And I want to try doing that with that new, what's it called? Redstone. This thingy. This thing is cool. Like, I've actually been using this significantly more than I thought I would be. Now, I wouldn't mind some feathers. That would probably be cool. Where, pray tell, might I get a lot of feathers? I think what I'm going to have to do... You know what? Now might be a good time to get into a mod that I've been wanting to get into. And it's a good excuse to. Hostile neural networks. That could be cool. I think I just need this. And then I'm going to need one of these. And that'll be the start to playing with hostile neural networks. All I need to do is find some chickens. Hostile Neural Networks is a mod that lets you basically simulate a mob farm. So we have a mob farm where we're spawning mobs and then killing them. Hostile Neural Networks simulates that inside a block. It's nice for when you're playing on servers, because having a lot of mobs and a lot of fighting and a lot of dropping of items and experience and all this stuff, everything we're doing inside this building contributes to a little bit of server-side lag. Now, in a single-player game like I'm currently doing, it's not significant. But if you had 20 people on a server doing this, and you had 20 sets of these, you might contribute to the server getting a little bit laggy. So Hostile Neural Networks is a great way to solve that. So you can start by creating a data model, like I just did, and right-click on any entity. Then place the model into a deep learner. And now, every time you kill an entity of that type, it should pick up and learn a little bit. So you'll notice there's a data collected on this tooltip. At the base tier, which is the faulty tier, you can't do anything with these. However, once you kill 6, in this case chickens, you'll be able to do something with it. And you can kill more if you wish, because you'll see what happens here in a minute. But let's go find 4 more chickens to take down. And then you don't have to feel so bad about killing chickens. Poor chickens. What'd they ever do to you? Besides look like ducks. You know, back in the day, there was like a big debate whether chickens were chickens or ducks. You remember that? Anybody been playing Minecraft long enough to remember the great chicken to duck debate? Because there were a lot of people who legitimately thought these were ducks. I think it was before there was like any like easy way to know like what was what. Get over here, you. Where'd you go? Stop running away from me. I'm just trying to kill you. Okay, one more. thought that's where we were at, but just checking. I hear him. There he is. Cool. So once you kill the first 6 of any mob, by the way, it will turn into a basic data model, and that basic data model can be used to do stuff, which we'll find out in a few minutes. Now, you have to kill 48 more, I think it is, to get to the next tier, but that's okay. Now that we have a basic model, we can automate this. All right, now there's a couple things we're going to want to be able to make for playing around with hostile neural networks. Most important of which is this thing, the prediction matrix. But let's get all 3 going just so we can talk about them. So number 1, we're going to need a simulation chamber. This guy will simulate killing the chickens that we just got a data model for. Then we're going to need a loop fabricator. What that does is when we get the items that the simulation creates, we can use them to fabricate the drops that would be created. Finally, we're going to need prediction matrices. We're going to need a lot of these. Luckily, they're relatively cheap. It's just a piece of clay, gold, and iron, and you get 16 of them per craft, so easy peasy. Okay, so as usual, I'm just going to stick this somewhere randomly for a minute, probably right here, because it feels like it fits, right? So simulation and loop fabricator, and we might as well get them some power cables. Cool. Loving it. So first step is insert a data model, which we have right here. And I'll put my deep learner away for a minute. And the data model, once inserted, will need prediction matrices to run against, right? So as soon as it consumes one of those prediction matrices, it will start running its simulation, and you can see the progress down here on the bottom right. So it'll load up a simulation and simulate killing a chicken. Now at the basic tier, there's a good chance it'll succeed and a good chance it'll fail. So right now the model accuracy is right around 5%. So there's a 5% chance to get this chicken prediction. We were lucky this time, and we got one. There's almost a 100% chance, I think it is a 100% chance, that you'll get this generalized overworld prediction. But every time the simulation runs, it increases the data collected on the model. So the data collected will continue to climb, and as that climbs, the model accuracy will get better, up to 95%. So basically, the longer you let this run, the better chance you're going to have of each simulation producing a chicken prediction. And these predictions are what you use to get the drops from chickens, and you can decide which drop to get by placing these inside of the loop fabricator. So you can pick whether you want to get raw chicken or feathers, because those are what chickens drop. And once you choose what you get, it's going to consume that item and produce feathers for you. Pretty easy peasy. So basically, there is a hostile prediction for most mobs that are available. So you can even see, you can get stuff for the Warden, and that'll produce Warden predictions, which is how you can get Echo Shards. You can get a Wither prediction and get, Nether Stars out of it. So basically, almost every mob that exists should have, some kind of prediction, and then you can get the drops from it. And some things will obviously have more than one drop based upon, the different things they can produce. So for example, this is a good way to get lots of emeralds or totems of undying is by getting an evoker, right? So ghasts will produce ghast tier and gunpowder, right? So different mobs will produce different resources based on the things that they can generally drop. Cool. So that's the mod. It's cool. If you want this thing to continuously run, you'll need to continuously feed it prediction matrices. What I'm probably going to do for now, only because it's not super important to me right now to get tons of feathers, is just let the 55 run. Hey, look, we just got a success. So that's cool. There's a few more feathers for us. Nice. And then we'll let this thing just produce a bunch of feathers, and then we'll call it a day. And then at some point in the future, if we need to, build a data model for something else, like I said, maybe we'll use this to produce emeralds. That might not be a bad idea. I would just have to go find an evoker, 6 of them, and because you have to kill the initial 6 manually. You have to get that tier off of faulty in order for the machine to be able to simulate it, right? So it has to be at basic tier, which requires killing 6 of the mob. So got to kill the first 6 yourself, and then you can let it simulate the rest. Sweet. Now that we have feathers, now we can do Redstone Logic, which should be cool, right? So not you, actually, the redstone one, this one. Yeah, you. So what I want to check out is, can I have multiple outputs based on one input here? So what I'm going to do is place this guy down right? And what I'd like to have is something like this. Because I want to simulate what my plan is to make this thing work, and then we'll see if it does what I want it to do, right? So like, pretend we want this thing to do one output based on receiving a signal of 10, and then do a different output based on receiving a signal of 14, right? So can I do that? So what I would say is y is, so yellow is what we would want here is, where's the and? Logical. And, or and. Okay. So y is equal to let's see, logical edge detection timers. So if max AB, min max average. Interesting. Cool. All right, so what I think I want to do is something like if yellow, right, the yellow, which is the input here, so what we want to do is we want to output on blue. So it should really be B is equal to if y is greater than or equal to 10, then 15, otherwise 0, right? So if I run this and we turn this on, it'll output on blue, right? But only if it's greater than or equal to 10, right? And then can I do it such that G, if y is greater than or equal to 14, then 15, otherwise 0. And here do and y is less than 14. Okay? So if I'm right about this little bit of code, it says blue will be output if y is greater than or equal to 10 and less than 14. And green will be output if y is greater than or equal to 14. So what should happen is when I flip this lever, this line will turn on. And then when I flip this lever, this line will turn off, and this one will turn on. Right? Boom! How cool is that? That's exactly what I wanted to see. It's funny because, like, it's actually relatively simple to use once you have, like, the basics down. It's very cool. I like this thing. I am very much using this Redstone Logic control thing a lot lately, and for good reason, right? So I'm just gonna, like, copy this out and, like, on my computer, put it in, like, a notepad real quick, just so I have it for laters. All right, so that's what we're gonna use to control what we want to do here, right? Cool. So down here, okay, this dude is currently doing his thing, right? So I'm going to pick him up, okay? So we're currently emitting a signal of 15 because we're full, right? So I might change, well, I'll probably leave that 14. Yeah, I like the 14 being there, right? Because I don't know what, say now we're at 14. Okay, that's fine, right? Because we don't need it to be 100% full. So I'm going to leave it exactly the way it is. And what I'm going to do here is make sure that this dude is such that the yellow is here, right? So, you know, and then we can run him. Okay. And then we can have laser nodes here. Now, I'm assuming that the laser nodes are going to be able to pick this up immediately, but we'll find out, okay? So get our card holder, get our redstone card on... Ooh, he is connecting. Cool. Okay, so the problem is just you're not showing me because you're being all dark glassy and blocking my layer. Okay. And then a redstone card here. Cool. That's what I wanted to see. So you're going to input on, let's make it red to turn on. Okay. And we're going to have you input on green to turn on. That seems backwards, doesn't it? Yeah, it does, doesn't it? So red for stop. No, red for stop, yes, and green for go, right? Because this'll be go, this'll be stop, right? Okay, cool. And then you on the up was just doing redstone white, right? Are there any other redstone-y? I don't think so. Right. So I probably want all these guys connected to each other, and I'm thinking yes, right? So let's link you two. Okay. And then we're going to link you two. Cool. And remember, I have it configured so that, like, I'll put wrench alpha at 255. So when I'm holding the wrench, we can see the lasers. And when I'm not, we can't. Is that cool? Cool. All right. So then you're going to be on pulse mode, right? So I want you to deploy. So green is go, right? And this is the no, that's the pickup. That's the stop. Green for go, red for stop. So then I want you to output on red a weak signal, right? And you can output on green a weak signal. Cool? So in theory, if this is working correctly, once this drops below the critical threshold, and in fairness, it's not really moving that much. There it goes. Now it's doing stuff. Do you think it, like, somehow knows when... You know. I don't know. It's a little over-engineered, too. Because I could absolutely... just to be clear on this point, we could absolutely just have red output and toggle this thing on when needed. We could leave the Warden there all the time, and the output of the comparator, we could skip this whole thing. The output of the comparator could just control the energy transmitter with the high signal. So, like, when you drop below 10%, turn on, right? And it would just toggle it on and off based on the resonance signal. That would be the simple and basic way to do it. Dire likes to over-engineer things, plus I already had half of this built. So, deal with it. It's fun. Dire likes to build things like this. It's fun. But yeah, so what's the deal? Like, do you somehow know that these machines are running and ticking? Like, you can't. There's no way that I can imagine the Soul Surge knows that these machines are running in my mind. Like, there's no way it could possibly know that, right? It definitely seems to be, like, sometimes running. Can't tell. So let's make a bunch of glass, right? Because that'll generate a bunch of stuff, right? Is that going to consume a bunch of soul? No, it shouldn't be, right? Even though I can see the signal running in the background there, souls ain't being consumed all that much. But presumably you are going crazy, right? Which is what I would expect. Yeah, it's really slow to use up all that soul storage. So it's going to be a good little bit before we can actually, like, see this in action. I guess we'll just have to leave it and, like, wait. I'm going to go do other things, and we'll come back and see if, like, it didn't activate for some reason. And if that's what happens, then we'll have to deal with it. Is that cool? I think that's cool. Because, like, this thing uses its souls so slowly. It's going to be a very long time before we hit power output of 10, right? Okay. Now, it occurs to me our logic here might be wrong. Because as soon as this hits 13, it's going to spawn the Warden, isn't it? Presumably. Right. That might be a problem? I guess that's a problem? Because then it's going to be spawning them on and off. I think our logic should be if y is less than 10, spawn him, right? And if it's greater than 14. So I really want to change this logic to be if y is less than 10. See? So it did work. That's cool. It just did what we wanted it to do. And then it bumped back up to 14. So I think it just dropped below 13, right? But realistically, we don't want to do what it just did. See? There we go. So it spawned him again. And then it despawned him. right? So as we're like dropping below. So yeah, my logic here is actually not good. I want this to be if y is less than 10, right? So now when y drops below 10, it'll spawn him, and when it goes above 14, it'll despawn him. That's what we want. That's definitely what we want. Okay, so that's cool. Yeah, so right now it's at 13, so both of them, which is what we want, right? We don't want to spawn him when we're at 13. Cool. Okay, I like it. What do you guys think? Is cool? So, a quick note, we did finish the 64 of these things in the chicken simulation. He got up to close to 25% model accuracy now, so now we have a decent chance of getting chicken productions every time we run this thing. So I just decided to just toss him this thing and to get a bunch of feathers. I don't foresee us needing that many feathers going forward, but if we ever needed more, we could easily do that. And then we also got some generalized overworld predictions, which are super useful, actually. There's 3 of these from hostile neural networks, one for each dimension. So basically, actually, there's 4. I lied. There's one for Twilight as well, which I guess is also a dimension. Yeah. So we've got the overworld one, which is basically generated from any overworld type mobs that you simulate, and that can be used to make all kinds of cool stuff. And then there's the nether ones, which come from basically any nether based mobs. So like if you simulate withers or magma cubes or hoglins, etc., you know, that's cool, and that'll produce a bunch of cool stuff as well. So there may be a need for using these at some point in the future. When and if I run into that, I'll definitely take advantage of them. Cool. All right, we're back. So I decided on what I want to start working on next. Now that we have a lot of the foundational stuff of our base up and running, and kind of, oh, hey, look who's alive. Good job, Warden. He spawned. Look at that. Cool. So we must have dropped low enough that we triggered the Warden to spawn, and it's working. Beautiful. I happened to walk down here at just the right time, right? So, yeah. And so, like, once this thing fills up beyond whatever threshold, I think it's like right around 93%, the Warden will despawn, and that'll be kind of, I like it. It's working. I'm just saying it's working. I'm just saying it's working. Sweet, 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 sweet. All right. So I want to work on reactors. And I have a cool idea for something I want to do. And hopefully you guys will also think it's cool, because I'm probably going to spend a bunch of time on it. And it's going to be fun. So I want to check out this mod right here, Extreme Reactors. Because not only is it a cool mod, but it's also gotten, it looks like, a lot of updates, and there's like a bunch of stuff that we've done. Oh, there's an energy cell? Tell me more. Neat. What's this? I don't know. I didn't know there was an energy cell. I missed that part. Energy cell. Storage components of the Energizer. Maybe that's actually not something. I thought for a second this might be like a battery, but it may not be. Is that part of... What's that part of? Reactor? Reprocessor? Energizer? Is a multi-block machine that has always stored vast on probably more than you could ever produce. Oh, it is how I want to do it. Okay, that is what I thought it might be. Cool. Yeah, so Extreme Reactors seems like it got like a lot of updates. Extreme Reactors used to be big reactors. It's got a long history of cool stuff. But basically, you can use it to produce forge energy using uranium. And clearly it's gotten a lot of updates, because there's a lot more content here than the last time I looked at this mod with any serious attention. So not only... So traditionally you had 2 components that you could make in big or extreme reactors. You had the reactor itself, which is this dude, and the reactor basically takes fuel and produces either energy or steam. Okay, so you can use it to produce, you know, all kinds of cool stuff. So operational modes, passive cooling and active cooling. And it determines what it produces. So passive cooling, it generates energy. And active cooling, it generates steam from water. And, you know, there's a bunch of other stuff that we'll get into as we start looking at the mod. Now, if you produce energy, you can stop right there. So you could build a reactor, feed it uranium, generate forge energy. right? If you want to go the more efficient route, you can create a turbine. And the turbine basically receives steam, spins the turbine, and I assume turns the steam back into water that you can feed back into your reactor. It's been a while since I've worked with it. And then there's a whole bunch of cool different ways to build this guy. Okay, so there's a bunch of different parts, and it's giant multi-block structures to produce the energy or the steam, and then the turbine. And now, new to the mod are 2 new blocks, it looks like, or maybe 3. So first off is the reprocessor. And the reprocessor is a big thing that allows you to reprocess a bunch of fuels and do a bunch of things. And I don't know exactly all the details of it. But the gist is you can produce all kinds of stuff. Like you'll get, I think you get cyanite as a byproduct of the reactor. So when you burn uranium in the reactor, it'll produce cyanite. And then you can use cyanite to make a bunch of stuff, including getting a bunch of other resources that can be reprocessed in the fuel reprocessor. I don't know anything about it because it's new. I've never used it before. I don't know when this got added, but I've never used it before. It's new to me, right? And then there's the fluidizer, which apparently is a multi-block, right? And what it'll do is it'll allow you to mix fluids and do stuff. It's probably a crafting tool, like it converts one thing into another. And then finally there's the energizer, and that looks like a big battery. So stores a bunch of power, and then, yeah, that's pretty cool. So I want to check all this out, mostly because a lot of it is super new to me and I've never played with it. So I want to see how it works out. So I think our next big task will be getting into playing with big reactors or extreme reactors, right? So now how big can these guys get is kind of my first question. So is there anything in the book that tells me like the size of the reactor? Operational mode variance. So basic can be 5 by 5 by 5 external dimensions. Thank you for clarifying. Thank you for clarifying external dimensions, because that is always an important thing. Because some mods legitimately say 5 by 5 by 5, and they mean internal, which is really a 7 by 7 by 7 external, right? So thank you, Extreme Reactors book, for clarifying that was external dimensions, right? And then there's reinforced version. So is this can be configured mod pack up to 256 blocks. Cool. Let you build as big as you need or want to generate or store extreme amounts of energy. Okay, it's interesting. Let's take a look at the turbine real quick. And there's a very important reason that I'm clarifying how big things can get, and I will tell you in a minute. Okay, so the basic turbine is 5 by 5 by 10. Okay, important to note. That's a deal. That's important, right? And that's the basic version. And then reinforced, not as efficient. Interesting. And then they have superior generation capacity, right? So the maximum size up to 256 blocks can be set by players, mod pack makers. I guess we'd have to check like what the defaults are, and I wonder if I can check that in game real quick so you guys can see it. And then the reprocessor is 3 by 3 by 7, so 10 is the biggest size so far. Fluidizer 3 by 3 by 3, and then finally energizer is also 3 by 3 by 3 is the minimum size. Interesting. Cool. Okay, so good to know. So the reason I wanted to check that is now might be a cool time to check out the Hyperbox mod. So let's see what we can do. Do you need crying obsidian? I guess you do. Cool. Is there a way to like turn obsidian into crying obsidian? I guess you can do it with that. I guess that. So, okay. So if we decide we need more crying obsidian in the future, how are we doing on crying obsidian? Not bad. Probably enough to handle our hyperboxes. So hyperboxes are cool. Hyperboxes are basically little boxes that you can enter, and they're neat. In reality, it spawns a dimension that you can operate in. So this box, if we click on it, we can give it a name. So we will call it... do I want to give it a name right now? I have to before I go in there. And I'm thinking about what I want it to be named. So, like, I'm going to check it out to see if it's going to work for our reactors dimension. And if it doesn't, we'll figure something out. So I'll name it reactors 1 and then save and enter. And that's going to teleport me inside this hyperbox. So how tall is this? Because that looks like more than 10. Is it 16 all around? Do we have a measuring tape? Do we not? I thought I made one of these before. I guess I didn't. Guess I didn't. You, 2 of you, and then gray wool. Goodness gracious. Harder to make than I would have thought. That's going to be enough, though, because it makes 2, doesn't it? Yeah. Cool. So this will be... Where's my numbers? Hidden, apparently. That's not helpful. How do I get rid of what's being rendered here? Oh, just take it off your hotbar for a second. Okay. Is it 13? Is that what it is? I guess it's like one chunk-ish. So it's 13 tall interior. Okay. And I would therefore assume that it's also going to be a 13 by 13 in here, right? That is very hard to see, but I'm going to assume, let's do it like this. So this should be an 11 by 11, which would mean the other one would be 13 by 13. Yep. All right, so interior dimensions of a hyperbox are 13 by 13 by 13, which means we should be able to fit most extreme reactors in here, as long as we don't need them to be too ridiculously large, right? Because we said our reactor, if we were going to do a basic one, right? Because we'll see if we want to go like crazy with it, but like I'm going to start with the basics and then figure it out, okay? So the basic would be a 5 by 5 by 5. So let's map this out, right? Okay, so that's cool. And then if we wanted a turbine, that one would be 5 by 5 by 10, right? So that would be leaving myself a little bit of like a little bit of space behind and around it and everything, so I can get, you know, if I wanted to like, if there has to be something that goes here or tubes or pipes or something like that, and then in between the reactor and the turbine. Okay, and then we could have, if we wanted to, we could probably put our reprocessor, which is a 3 by 3 by 7, so that shouldn't be a big deal. Okay, and then finally the fluidizer is a 3 by 3 by 3. Now, if we wanted to be like kind of clever about it, another approach we could take. So like I like that. That's one approach. Or we could have like opposite corners, so we could have a 5 and a 5 and a 3 and a 3. But because we're going to want pipes running between these two machines, I think they should be next to each other. So I think we'll stick with that. Okay. So that could be our design here. And I kind of like that idea. Like it looks good to me. Is that cool? All right. And then for the energy, we could build that in the overworld, right? So the energizer that stores power can go in the overworld dimension, and that would be like, you know, that would be neat. So inside this machine will be all of our interactions. Now we might want to stick in here somewhere, and we can put this like up on a wall or something. But we could have a quantum dude in here. And that would be neat. And that would be like our access to AE. so we can like run some applied energistic stuff in here. I feel like that would be super cool, right? I think we're going to do that. I think we're definitely going to do that. All right, so what I'm going to say then is, for now, don't want to sign off. And by the way, to get out of this thing, you just have to click on one of these little faces, and you'll pop right out. Is that cool? Super cool. Boop. And I think you'll pop out on the face that you clicked. So like if I click on this little orangey dude, it'll pop me out on the orangey face. And if I click out on the blue face, it'll pop me out on the blue face. Cool. So yeah, for now, don't want to sign off. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. We'll come back next time and get started playing with big reactors. Now, the only other thing, or extreme reactors, sorry. I'm gonna mix it up because it used to be big reactors, and I'm used to saying that. Oh, and by the way, I also did get my full set of quantum armor. We'll play with that at some point in the future too. All right, but we got to wrap up now. So, don't want to sign off. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Take it easy.